To the rest of the world, Jennifer Pan was a grieving daughter, the survivor of a horrible home invasion that left her mom, Bich, shot dead. And her dad, Hann Pan, in a coma, fighting for his life.
There were 18 minutes of complete horror for her whole family.
But police were beginning to wonder if the young woman with the angelic voice was really the devil in disguise.
The obvious question that people asked is, how is it that they left someone unharmed to be a witness?
My initial thought was that there was something odd about it, something fishy.
Crime reporter Jeremy Grimaldi covered the Pans' home invasion for the local paper.
What was fishy about it?
The criminals who did this would have to be pretty bumbling to shoot 2 people in the head and then leave 1 witness surviving, tied up upstairs.
Grimaldi says his reporter instincts told him this was more than a home invasion.
What was the most glaring thing about her story?
Not much was stolen. There was a Mercedes and a Lexus in the garage. They weren't stolen. There were TVs, there were devices, there was money that was found in the house, which wasn't stolen. Thieves that get away into the night without cash that was left on the counter aren't very good thieves.
Cops have a lot of questions too. One of the biggest.
We were, concerned about how she could make the 911 call with her hands tied behind her back.
And she had a flip phone.
She did.
Making it even harder.
Yes.
So investigators bring Jennifer into police headquarters for a demonstration.
I want to see how you could physically get your phone out of your waistband. We're obviously going to need to know that. It's very important. We know you made the phone call, but questions are going to obviously raise is that if my hands are bound and I'm against a railing, how do I talk to a 911 operator?
At first, Jennifer appears hesitant.
Put this in the side that you believe it was in. Great. Turn around so that you're looking away from me. You're looking exactly like, now here is where the banister is. Put your hands back behind your back, exactly how you remember they were. Okay? Now, are you restrained from movement? How far can you move your hands from the banister?
They tied my upper arm.
Yes?
Around the banister.
Yes?
But my hands were bound together.
Remember, she says the robbers used a black shoestring to bind her arms.
So your hands bound together, and this is the arm that's the strings wrapped around against the banister?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now how can you get to the phone? And how do you make the phone call? 911?
Mm-hmm.
And do you talk down like that?
Yes, I'm yelling at the phone like this.
And how can you hear?
I turned the volume on max.
Yes? So that's exactly the way that you're talking to her against the railing.
Mm-hmm.
So it was possible she was telling the truth?
In that sense, yes.
So at this point, you think you have what on your hands?
It's described to us as a home invasion, and we have nothing that would suggest something to the difference.
With 1 person dead, 1 shot, and the daughter tied up.
Unharmed, yes.
But cops still weren't convinced Jennifer was telling the truth. So they had a secret police detail follow her, even to her mother's funeral.
So how did she act?
Certainly didn't see any tears.
She didn't cry at her mother's funeral?
No, it didn't appear genuine anyways.
And after something as horrific as a home invasion robbery, your father's in the hospital, your mother's been killed, your life was supposedly threatened.
Yeah, I would think that you'd probably react a little bit different.
Detectives immediately went back to work and, out of curiosity, listened to that 911 call one more time.
I'm okay! My dad just went outside screaming.
And bingo.
Hello? Hello?
There was even something about that made you very suspicious.
Yeah, after we heard the 911 call, the question begged to be answered was, what parent would, notwithstanding your wife has been clearly been shot and you've been shot, would not check on their child? He could hear her screaming, but he doesn't.
But the only person who could answer that question was fighting for his life in ICU.
Pan was in a induced coma at the hospital. Bich had sadly succumbed to the injuries. She had died after being shot. And we only had Jennifer's word that this is what happened.
But that was about to change.
Pan came out of his induced coma.
Up next, Dad comes back from the dead.
What did the father say happened?
He tells a completely different story than that of his daughter.
What do you make of all this?